Booting up the game, we're immediately presented with 4 possible story paths, or teams. And here I thought the hardest decision I would have to make was whether or not to get out of bed for another day. Sonic Heroes works unlike any other Sonic game in the series history, or really unlike any video game that I'm aware of. Each of the 4 teams has 3 characters, comprising of a speed type, a flying type, and a fighting type. Just barely doing enough to beat the Pokemon clone accusations there, Sega. Throughout the levels, you'll switch between 3 types depending on what's needed to progress. It may seem simple, but there's actually a decent amount of depth to the way this works. The speed characters, or at least Sonic and Shadow, get the light speed dash, which is really cool when it works 90% of the time, and every speed character besides Amy can do this sick ninja stuff where you jump between walls. Speed characters can also dash and just move the fastest in general, along with getting a cool little tornado blast move to flip over turtles. Flying characters somehow are able to get their 3 characters in a vertical stack, which physicists to this day are still trying to wrap their heads around how that worked. The flying archetype gives you a limited amount of flight capabilities, which you can boost further with the A button until the game decides that you can't. This is used not only to increase your height, but can also be about jumping over gaps or trying to get somewhere in the distance. Good news, fans of the Z-axis, and this is for you. Flying characters can also shoot dumbing ring bombs if they somehow end up alone. No one knows why, but this came back in Sonic 06, so it's relevant to bring up. And finally, the power characters. Beginning the consequential trend of adding combat to Sonic games. These characters are responsible for fighting robots mainly and bashing in massive doors as well. And they can glide. I mean, this is clearly based on Knuckles' signature move from Sonic 3, but how does that transfer to a robot or crocodile, you might just say? It just does, okay? Circling back to the combat aspect real quick though, I've seen people compare this to the fighting that would later be seen in Unleashed or Frontiers, and I'm sorry, but like, you're actually objectively wrong. Like, sure, there are some enemies that get on my damn nerves, and some that do take way too long to beat, but the combat that does exist here is just mainly to provide extra value to your fighting characters. It's not to pad out the game or slow you down or make you hate your life. I think it's a valid critique, but a bit overplayed by the haters of this game. So you might ask, what are the main differences between the 4 teams if they all sort of do the same stuff? Well, they all share pretty similar levels and bosses, but Team Sonic is sort of your basic story, Team Rose is your easy mode, Team Dark is a hard mode, and you can consider Team Chaotic sort of a miscellaneous mode where you're tasked with doing missions. Now, we'll talk about the individual story threads in just a bit, but I do want to point out that there are small differences between the teams and their characters. SBO, for instance, can use his tornado spin to turn invisible, which has basically only the uses of hiding from enemies and passing through lasers, which gets used like twice in the game, but it is used period, and it's important to note. Amy is unlike the other speed characters entirely, in the sense that she can't use a light speed dash or even hop off walls. This was probably done because Team Rose is supposed to be pee baby easy, but it still makes the playthrough way less fun and snappy in my opinion. And all the fighting characters fight in their own special sort of ways. Vector shoots bubblegum.